The fare that got you here was $19. You remember it clearly, because that number is the reason you're on this plane and not another one. It beat every competitor by a mile. It felt like a mistake someone forgot to fix. Now look at what you actually paid. The seat, so you wouldn't be split from the person you're traveling with. The bag, because a coat and 3 days of clothes don't fit under a seat. The priority boarding, because the alternative was watching the overhead bins fill from Group 9. Added up, and the $19 flight cost you $140. You didn't get scammed. Every one of those charges was optional, disclosed, and yours to refuse. And you paid all of them anyway. That gap between the price that pulled you in and the price you walked away with is not a failure of the system. It's the entire point of it. And the whole machine is built around one number you were always meant to see and a dozen you weren't. Start with why that first number has to be so low. One screen decides almost everything about how you fly. Not the airline's website. The comparison page, the one that lists every flight from A to B in a single column, sorted, by default, cheapest first. Whoever sits at the top of that list gets the click. Not the best flight, not the most comfortable, the cheapest visible number. So the whole business bends toward one goal: own the top of that list. And you own it by stripping the advertised fare to the bone. A seat on a plane, almost nothing else. So the number on the comparison page is lower than anyone sane could match. Everything a normal traveler assumes is included gets removed from that number and set aside. Not to be dropped, to be sold back to you later, one at a time, after the comparison page has already done its job. Economists have a precise name for this, and it predates the airlines by decades. In 2006, Xavier Gabax and David Laibson published a paper on what they called shrouded attributes, the parts of a product's true price that a seller deliberately hides at the moment you're comparing and reveals only after you've committed. Their key finding is the uncomfortable one. In a market full of shrouded prices, an honest company, one that shows you the full cost up front, doesn't win. It loses, because its all-in number looks higher on the comparison page than the rival, who's hidden half the cost in fees you haven't hit yet. Sit with that. The system doesn't just tolerate the airline that hides the true price. It punishes the one that doesn't. Transparency, on that screen, is a competitive disadvantage, and every airline in the column knows it. So the low fare isn't generosity, and it isn't even really a price. It's bait, engineered to a specific job. Get you past the comparison page and onto the airline's own website, where the rules change completely. Because once you're on their site, you're no longer comparing. You've chosen. And a chosen customer is a very different animal from a shopping one. This is the moment the machine was waiting for. Economists call it the sunk cost grip. You'll feel it as something simpler. You're 40 minutes in, you've entered your passport number, the dates are locked, and starting over on a rival site feels like more effort than the fee in front of you. So watch what they do with that grip. They don't present the extras as a menu, they present them as a sequence, each one arriving at the exact moment it hurts most to say no. The seat comes first, and it's the cleverest one. You've booked, you go to check in, and there's the map of the plane, and there's you, automatically assigned a random seat, somewhere at the back, in a middle. If you're traveling with someone, you're not together. Now, technically, you could keep that seat for free, but look what they've done. They haven't charged you to sit down. They've charged you to sit next to your own child, to not be in the middle, to choose. And the price isn't fixed. The good seats cost more. The window costs more. The row with legroom costs a lot more. What was a plane ticket has quietly become a shop, and you're standing in it, being sold the specific seat you assumed you'd already bought. Then the bag, which is where the real money lives. A budget airline makes very little flying you from one city to another. The seat itself is close to a break-even proposition. The profit is in everything strapped to it, and the single biggest strap is the bag. So the bag rules are not an afterthought. They are engineered, down to the centimeter. There's a free personal item, small, defined by a box you'll be asked to fit it into. There's a cabin bag, which costs. There's a checked bag, which costs more, and costs more still if you buy it at the airport instead of online, and more again if it's a kilogram over. None of those thresholds are natural. They are chosen, tested, and tuned to sit exactly where a normal person's actual luggage lands, so that the bag you were always going to bring becomes a decision and a charge every single time. And if you don't decide fast enough, there's a countdown for that. You'll see it while you're picking the seat, or adding the bag, a timer. Your fare is held for the next 10 minutes. Prices may change. A little clock, ticking down, right beside the button. That clock is not about seat availability. It exists to do one job, to stop you doing the one thing that kills every one of these charges, closing the tab, walking away, and thinking about whether you actually need any of this. The whole sequence only works at speed. Slow it down, lay the fees out on a table, and most of them fall apart, so they make sure you never slow down. Now put the numbers back together, because assembled, the machine is almost beautiful. Take that $19 fare. Seat selection, 20. A cabin bag, 30. Priority boarding, so you can actually get that bag on, 15. A checked bag for the way home, 40. Suddenly the ticket is $124, and the airline has captured most of its profit in the parts that never appeared on the comparison page. And here's the part that turns the whole thing over. You didn't overpay because you were careless. You overpaid because the low number did exactly what it was built to do. It won the comparison, pulled you out of the market, and handed you to a system designed to add the real price back on, one flinch at a time, after you'd stopped shopping. The fare was never the price. The fare was the hook. You were the catch. And once you see the shape of it, you start seeing it everywhere the price is quoted before it's complete. The hotel room, that's a great rate until the resort fee appears at checkout. The concert ticket that doubles when the service charge loads on the final screen. The car rental that's cheap until the insurance. The young driver surcharge, and the refueling policy stack up at the desk. The phone plan whose headline number quietly excludes the exact things you'll actually use. Same architecture every time. One honest-looking number to win the comparison. And the true cost broken into pieces that arrive after you've committed. Economists call the fee at the end a drip. You've been dripped on for years. And notice the one thing all of these share. The thing that makes the drip work. Each individual fee is small, trivially small, next to the decision you already made. The seat is $20 against a trip you've spent an hour booking. The resort fee is $40 against a holiday you've been planning for months. No single drip is ever worth the effort of undoing everything and starting again somewhere else. That's not a coincidence. That's the size the fee is tuned to. Big enough to matter in aggregate. Small enough that fighting it always feels like more trouble than paying it. A drip you'd refuse would defeat the purpose. The whole art is finding the exact amount you'll sigh at and accept, which is why they never present the total. $140, shown at the start, is a number you'd compare and maybe reject. The same 140, delivered as 7 separate flinches over 40 minutes, barely registers as a decision at all. None of which means never fly budget. Sometimes the stripped-down fare, plus exactly the extras you need, and nothing more, genuinely is the cheapest way from A to B. The trick was never that budget airlines are expensive. The trick is that you can't tell, on the screen where you decide, whether they are. So the move is to move the comparison. Before you sort by that headline number, add it up in your head first. Fare, plus the seat you'll actually pick, plus the bag you'll actually bring. Compare that total against the airline that looked more expensive, because the expensive one may have been quoting you the honest all-in number all along. Pack to the free allowance if you genuinely can, and know it costs less to add the bag online than to be surprised by it at the gate. The gate price is a penalty, not a price. Buy the extras you know you need in the same breath as the fare, before the sequence starts, so they land as one honest total instead of a string of ambushes. A fee you chose in advance has no grip on you. A fee sprung on you at check-in has all of it. And when the little clock starts ticking beside the seat map, recognize exactly what it's for, and take the one action it's designed to prevent. Close the tab. The fare will still be there in an hour. The pressure won't. So, $19 on the way in, $140 on the way out. Now you know why. Nothing on that flight was hidden from you. Exactly. It was sequenced, so that you'd meet the real price in a dozen small pieces, each one alone, too small to walk away from, long after the comparison that was supposed to protect you had already picked your airline. The $19 fare wasn't a deal. It was the cheapest, most effective advertisement that airline will ever run. And you paid $140 to watch it.